It's not about dogmas. It's about the search that never ends. If this journey is yours too, consider liking and subscribing. That way, we move forward together, without churches, but with soul, towards something greater than ourselves.
There is a silence. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It's the hollow space where certainty used to live. You don't just think it, you feel it in your bones, in the quiet moments between one distraction and the next. This isn't about atheism. This is a grief, a mourning for a meaning that no longer resonates. In 1882, a philosopher stared into this abyss and made the most dangerous announcement in Western history. God is dead. We have killed him. Friedrich Nietzsche was not celebrating. He was issuing a diagnosis. The central sun of our moral universe had gone out. The framework that held our world together for centuries collapsed. And what remains? This video is not about the end of belief. It is about what comes after. It is about the most terrifying and glorious task of your life: the courage to build your own sacred.
God is dead. What does that even mean? It sounds dramatic, almost like a headline, but this wasn't a headline. It was a prophecy. Nietzsche wasn't talking about a man in the sky. He was talking about the collapse of an entire cosmic order. For centuries in the West, God was the foundation. He was the source of our morality, our meaning, our sense of good and evil, our answer to suffering. He was the sun around which our entire world orbited. And then we killed him. With reason, with science, with doubt. We dismantled the architecture of heaven brick by brick, and we thought we'd be free. But what happens when you remove the sun? You don't get freedom, not at first. You get weightlessness, a terrifying disorientation. You get the void. This is Nietzsche's real warning. The death of God is not the victory of reason. It is the arrival of its shadow, nihilism, the belief in nothing, the value of nothing, the meaning of nothing. He saw it coming, this creeping vacuum. He asked the terrifying question that echoes our modern condition. Are we not plunging continually? Backward, sideward, forward, in all directions? Is there still any up or down? Do we not wander through an infinite nothing? This is the central crisis. But hold that thought, because the way we try to escape this void is where the real danger lies. We haven't truly confronted the emptiness. We've just found quieter, more comfortable ways to ignore it. Nietzsche warned of the last man, the one who just blinks and says, "What is love? What is creation? What is a star?" The last man just wants his little pleasures, his safety, his comfort. He invents new, smaller gods to worship: distraction, productivity, likes and shares, anything to avoid looking into the abyss. We invent new altars to kneel before. We worship at the altar of productivity, turning our lives into optimized machines, yet the soul feels emptier with every completed task. We bow to the algorithm, letting it shape our desires and outrage, mistaking its curated void for genuine connection. We even turn spirituality itself into just another consumable product, a quick fix of mindfulness, a detox for the brain, all designed to manage the symptoms of a meaningless life, never to confront the cause. And this is the silent tragedy. We believe we are free because we've traded a single God for 1,000 little idols. But a cage with 1,000 doors is still a cage. We are pacified, not liberated. We have been given the keys to the universe, but we've chosen to lock ourselves in smaller, more comfortable rooms. But what if I told you that the very thing we're running from, this profound nothingness, is the source of our ultimate power? This is the true consequence of the murder. Not brave atheism, but a sleepy, comfortable despair, a life dedicated to running from the very freedom we thought we wanted. But what if we stopped running? What if, instead of fleeing the nothingness, we turned and faced it? What if this void is not the end, but the raw, blank canvas for your greatest creation? That is the dangerous question, and the answer is where your real work begins. So, we stand before the abyss. The old sun is extinguished, and the void is cold. This is the moment of truth. Do we become the last man seeking comfort in the shadows, or do we take the next terrifying step? For Nietzsche, this was the only question that mattered, and his answer was not a new belief system. It was a challenge, a demand for a new kind of human being. He called this figure the Übermensch, the overman or beyond man. But forget the comic book hero. This isn't about strength or power over others. This is about spiritual sovereignty. The Übermensch is the one who, seeing the void, does not pray for a new sun. Instead, he becomes his own source of light. He is the meaning giver, the value creator. In a universe silent to our pleas for purpose, the Übermensch looks into the nothing and declares, "Thus I will it." This is the ultimate act of rebellion and responsibility. You are no longer a subject of a divine king. You are the artist of your own soul, the architect of your own morality. But this path demands a profound courage. It requires you to slay not just God, but the ghost of God within you, the need for external validation, for a ready-made purpose handed down from on high. This is the most isolating responsibility imaginable. There is no divine plan to fall back on, no karma to balance the scales, no salvation after death. Every choice, every value you create is yours alone to justify and bear. It is a constant becoming, a perpetual overcoming of who you were yesterday. There is no final state of enlightenment, only the eternal tension of the bow, aiming to shoot beyond your current self. This path isn't for everyone, and Nietzsche knew it. It is for those who would rather bleed truth than wear the armor of comfortable lies. And this relentless self-creation leads directly to the ultimate test, amor fati. It's easy to love the triumphs, the joys, but the philosophy demands more. It demands you find the why for your deepest suffering. It demands you look at the childhood wound, the betrayal, the loss that shattered you, and say, "This too I integrate. This too was necessary for the person I must become." This is not passive acceptance. It is an active, passionate embrace of the entire symphony of your existence, especially its dissonant and tragic movements. And this is where Nietzsche gives us the ultimate tool for this creation, amor fati, the love of one's fate. It's the unconditional yes to life in its totality. Not in spite of your pain, your heartbreak, your failures, but because of them. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. This is the alchemy of the soul. It's about turning your wound, your deepest suffering, from a curse into the cornerstone of your identity. Your pain is not a mistake to be erased. It is the raw material of your creation. This is the sacred that Nietzsche offers,
not in a heavenly kingdom, but in the fierce, joyful, and terrible embrace of your own unique, unrepeatable life. It is a spirituality forged in the fires of the earth. But here is a crucial question. What happens to all the gods and demons that we've banished from the heavens? Where do they go? Because they don't just vanish. And this is where another giant, Carl Jung, enters the conversation with a terrifying and fascinating warning.
So Nietzsche gave us the ultimate challenge: become the creator of your own sacred. But what if you can't simply decide to do that? What if there are forces within you, ancient and powerful, that resist this new responsibility? This is the critical point where Carl Jung enters our story with a profound and terrifying warning. He would have agreed with Nietzsche's diagnosis. The God image is dead in the modern psyche. But Jung adds a crucial psychological layer. The archetype of God does not disappear. You cannot simply kill a fundamental part of the human psyche. When a God is dethroned from the external world, it doesn't vanish, it retreats. It descends into the unconscious. And there, in the darkness, it becomes autonomous, chaotic, and potentially demonic. Think of it like this. You've evicted a powerful, symbolic force from the conscious house of your mind. But now it's living in the basement, making noise, poisoning the well of your instincts, and projecting its energy onto the world in destructive ways. This is why the 20th century, the most irreligious in history, was also the most violently ideological. The need for a savior, for an ultimate meaning, didn't die. It was projected onto political leaders, nationalistic fervor, and fanatical ideologies. We didn't get rid of our gods. We just started worshiping them in secular disguises, and the worship became more bloody. This is the silent crisis of the modern seeker. You believe you are free, but you are haunted by ghosts you refuse to name. Your unexplained fascinations, your uncontrollable moods, the partners you're drawn to who embody your darkest dramas. This is the repressed sacred acting out. And this is where Jung's path to a new sacred begins, not by creating from nothing, but by recovering what was lost. This process is called individuation. The goal of individuation is the reconciliation of the conscious ego with the self, the central divine archetype of wholeness within you. It is the God within. But to reach it, you must first descend. You must confront your shadow, the rejected, shameful parts of you. You must dialogue with your inner other, the anima or animus. This is not philosophy. This is active, often painful inner work. It's about listening to your dreams, your symptoms, your irrational impulses, not as nonsense, but as messages from the exiled gods of your soul. This is Jung's sacred. It's not a belief, it's an experience. It's the slow, lifelong process of making the unconscious conscious, of reintegrating the divine sparks you cast out. It's about building an inner temple, not finding one. But this path leads to one final, brutal question. What if, after all that digging, after confronting your shadows and listening to your dreams, you find not a divine presence, but the cold, silent, indifferent machinery of the universe staring back at you? What if the only answer is no answer at all? This is the final frontier of the modern soul.
And it's where a third thinker, Albert Camus, meets us not with solace, but with a defiant and strangely beautiful rebellion.
So we arrive at the final, starkest shoreline. Nietzsche gave us the courage to create. Jung gave us the map to explore the depths Camus within. But what if you've done the work and the universe remains silent? What if there is no God, no self, no hidden meaning to uncover? Just the cold, beautiful, and indifferent stare of existence. This is the territory of Albert Camus. He begins where our search seems to end, at the absurd. The absurd is not a philosophy. It's a raw, undeniable fact. It is the collision between our frantic human need for meaning, reason, and answers, and the universe's total, deafening silence in response. It is the gap between the question in our heart and the silence of the world. Confronted with this, Camus identifies three possible responses. The first is physical suicide, to erase the question by destroying the one who asks. He rejects this. The second is philosophical suicide, what he calls the leap of faith, to kill reason and leap into the comfort of an irrational belief, a new God. This, for Camus, is a form of cheating. It is fleeing the very truth of the absurd. So what remains? The only authentic response, he declares, is revolt. Revolt is the conscious decision to live passionately and defiantly in the face of this meaningless silence. It is to accept that the universe has no answers for you, and to refuse to let that have the final word. You must hold the tension. You must never resolve the contradiction. You must, as he famously wrote, imagine Sisyphus happy. Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to eternally roll a boulder up a mountain only to watch it roll back down, is the ultimate absurd hero. His task is pointless. His struggle is eternal. And yet in that moment of walking back down the mountain, conscious of his futile fate, he is superior to it. His happiness lies not in success, but in his scorn for the gods and his ownership of his own existence. His rebellion is his meaning. This is where Camus locates the sacred, not in heavens or hidden depths, but here on the sun-warmed stone. The sacred is the sheer, visceral beauty of the physical world. The scent of rain, the curve of a lover's back, the taste of salt water. The sacred is in human solidarity, the shared struggle against an indifferent fate. Your wound is not a portal to a higher meaning, but a testament to your capacity to feel, to be alive in a world that doesn't care. And that, in its own way, is everything. You will not be saved. You will not find the final answer. And in that very refusal, you will find a freedom and an intensity of experience that any god would envy. You will have built your sacred not from belief or introspection, but from a relentless, lucid, and passionate yes to the beautiful, terrible, and meaningless drama of being alive.
We have walked through the ruins of the old cathedral. We have the blueprints from Nietzsche, the excavation tools from Jung, the defiant spirit of Camus. But now, you are left alone in the silence, and this is the ultimate truth they all point to. There is no final answer waiting for you. Any answer you find and cling to will eventually become another idol, another dead god. The moment you believe your creation is complete, your introspection is finished, or your revolt has achieved its goal, you have fallen asleep again. You have built another, more comfortable cage. And this is the danger hidden in every philosophy, every religion, every ideology. They promise you arrival when life is nothing but departure.
They promise you certainty when growth demands uncertainty. They promise you peace when real freedom will always cost you the friction of becoming. So, what remains? The sacred is not a noun, it is a verb. It is the act of creating, even as your values shift with the pain of new experience. It is the courage of descending, even when the unconscious terrifies you. It is the stubbornness of your revolt, even when the universe's silence feels absolute. The sacred is not found in temples or texts, but in the raw, trembling act of carving something out of the chaos that surrounds you. It lives in the moment you refuse to surrender, in the instant you dare to imagine a different shape for your own existence. It is fragile, it is fleeting, and yet it is more real than any golden idol because it moves as you move, it breathes as you breathe. This is the unfinished cathedral of the self. You are both the architect and the stone, the sculptor and the clay. Your wound is not a flaw to be fixed. It is the unique grain in the marble that guides your chisel. Your heartbreak, your alienation, your rage. This is not meaningless suffering. This is the raw material. It is the weight of the stone that Sisyphus learns to love, for it is his stone. Do not wait for perfection before you begin. Do not wait for clarity before you carve. You will never have all the tools, never have all the blueprints, never have the certainty that you are building the right thing. The work itself is what makes it right. The unfinishedness is what makes it alive. The death of God was not the end of your story. It was the violent, necessary eviction that returned the building site to its rightful owner, you. And now you stand here, in the rubble, in the silence, in the terrifying freedom of having no master but yourself. There is no blueprint above you, no celestial architect watching over your work. There is only your trembling hand, your chisel, your breath, your will. The question is no longer, what is the meaning of life? That question died with God. The only question that matters now, the one that will define every breath you have left, is this: what will you now build with your glorious, terrifying freedom?
If this moved something inside you, stay. We're building something for those who don't fake it. Subscribe, not just for the content, but for the confrontation. And if this left a wound, maybe it was meant to. Sometimes the best way to go deeper is to share the pain. Share it. Someone out there is still waiting for a sign from an empty sky, still praying to a God they no longer believe in, begging the universe for a purpose it will never give. This won't give you that purpose, but it might hand you the tools to build it yourself. Let this reach the ones standing at the edge of the void, mistaking the silence for condemnation. Let it remind them, the sacred isn't found, it is forged, and your anvil is the ache of your own existence.